Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Dan Hegarty. I'm the CEO of Express Medicals, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, which is entitled Healthy Habits, a Simple Approach to Nutrition and Fitness, which will be delivered by Marina Saith. Marina graduated with a degree in exercise, nutrition and health. She is a qualified nutritionalist and exercise coach. She has extensive experience of implementing programs that are designed to promote healthy lifestyles for both children and adults, using a combination of balanced nutrition and keeping active through exercise. Her diverse skill set also includes working with those at risk of developing type 2 diabetes, and her approach is to reduce the risks of such individuals progressing to full-blown diabetes. Marina is very passionate about being proactive and taking a holistic approach to optimizing health and well-being. The topics that she's going to talk about are clearly huge, and I'm sure that she can't cover everything, but I've no doubt that she will give us lots of helpful tips, and that will be useful for those of us attending today who are interested in optimizing our own health and well-being, no matter what stage in life we find ourselves. Marina is part of our senior clinical team here, and actually she works as our training supervisor. There will be the opportunity to post questions in the Q&A box, and we will come to those at the end of the presentation and answer as many as we can. If there are any left unanswered, we will address those by email afterwards. You will also be able to view this session on our YouTube channel. And thus it gives me great pleasure to now hand over to Marina, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy her presentation very much. Over to you, Marina.
Thank you, Dr. Dan, and good morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm Marina. I'm nutrition and fitness coach at Express Medicals. I'm clinical training supervisor. I'm experienced in health coaching, health assessments and screening, and it's all part of what we do here at Express Medicals. Thank you all for joining us here today on this webinar. I feel extremely privileged and honoured to speak about such an important topic. And it is a topic that I feel very passionate about, and I've done so for as long as I can remember. And I feel it's important for our everyday lives. The problem we face today with our physical and mental illness can somewhat be determined by the choices that we make every day. I'm not here today to highlight a problem though, I'm here to propose a solution, something that we can all do every day to positively impact our health and well-being. So, as Dr. Dan has mentioned, I'll be covering simple approaches to nutrition and fitness. I'd just like to begin with a disclaimer. Nutrition and fitness is a massive topic. There is so much involved in health, and there is no way I can do it justice in just this 1 hour webinar. However, I will cover the basics today, touch on some simple science and practical ways in which we can make a positive impact to our health. And that is the aim of today's webinar. So just a quick safety note before we start. The content from this webinar is generally public advised and is safe to follow for the average healthy adult. However, if you have any underlying medical conditions, please do consult your GP before commencing changes to your diet or exercise levels. Okay, let's go. So just before we dive in, I want to begin by getting us to think about our current starts when it comes to willingness to make changes. I'm assuming you're all here today because you want to better your health, or at least are considering to make changes or curious as to what positive changes you can perhaps commence. So I want you to be completely honest with yourselves. How do you feel about making healthy changes to your diet and activity levels today? Now, it's okay if you're not feeling super confident and perhaps you have just logged onto the correct webinar. Whether you're on whatever scale you're on, I want you to hold on to that, and hopefully we can affirm your confidence by the end of this. I'll be bringing this question again to your view at the end. So I'll just give you a few moments to get you to think about where you would put yourself onto this scale. So as mentioned before, the aim of the webinar is to encourage you to find practical ways to implement good nutrition and increase activity levels in your everyday life. For the agenda today, I will cover health, nutrition, physical activity and exercise, and then we're going to look at some practical tips on how to implement good nutrition and physical activity in our everyday lives. Okay, so what is health? As defined by the World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So health is not just individuals with no current diseases. Health incorporates other areas, as mentioned. There's so much more involved, and hopefully you'll come to understand this a bit more as we go on. So why is this an important topic? This is a very important topic and essentially should be to everybody because it is important for our overall health and therefore can have massive implications to how we live our everyday lives. Technology has made us lazier. We can literally work, shop, communicate and play all from the comfort of our seats in front of our screens. This has become increasingly more common amid the recent pandemic outbreak of COVID-19. Working from home has become introduced into most places of work now. Some companies have even gone completely remote. And though this may be saving us time, money, energy, and resources, it's certainly not saving us our health. Unhealthy habits such as sedentary behaviours are on a rise, and if this continues, its long-term effect will be killing us. Historically, we did not need to put that much effort into moving more or eating well because lifestyles in general were healthier. We were generally more physically active than we are now due to technology not being as advanced. And if you wanted to communicate with someone, you had to physically get up and meet them, or physically get up, go to the shops, buy a postcard, write it, and then walk back to the post box, and send it. So nowadays we can send instant messages and emails quicker than we can blink. Historically, more people walked as a form of transport. Nowadays, people drive to a shop which is a 10-minute walk away. Food was homegrown in farms, so consumption of fruit and vegetables were far higher than they are now. Today, we must put more effort to move more, eat well, and look after our health and well-being. Today, we must plan organised workouts in the gym, but historically, life was a workout that just never ended. It is important to note, and I will expand on this as we go through to this webinar, that both nutrition and physical activity are vital for our health. A combination of both physical activity and good nutrition will positively impact our physical and mental health and well-being. They're almost like a married couple and cannot be separated. Both are essential to our health and one cannot compensate for the other. We cannot outtrain a bad diet for 1 hour in the gym, and we cannot feed ourselves the benefit that activity has on our entire health. If we focus on increasing physical activity levels and improving our diet, we will reduce our risk of developing these chronic diseases, and the research does back this up. This is a positive impact to our health and our lifestyle and our work life. The benefits it has to our health will in turn increase our life expectancy. Now, let's take a look at how health impacts our work. We spend the majority of our day at work, right? So we have to make sure that our health is optimal in order for our work to follow and also be optimal. So much time and effort is invested in the interior of our homes, in the interior of our cars. Feature walls must be clean and tidy, heated seats, particular alloys. We need to put that same, if not more, energy and effort into the interior of our bodies. Your body is literally a temple. This is the home that you're going to live in the longest. And it is actually the vehicle that will take us further in life than any car can. There's good news to this. Research shows that if we eat well and exercise, we are more likely to be successful in other areas of our life and adopt other positive traits throughout life. These include being career-driven, ambitious, having an optimistic view of life, being more likely to be a more kinder, patient person with others and therefore able to deal with conflict calmly, and less likely to be involved in crime, out-of-hand debts, and drug and alcohol use and abuse. In turn, this will positively impact work environments and increase productivity, as this means reduced sickness and reduced turnover, employee turnover. Ultimately, it means the healthier we are, the happier we are. And this means we are more likely to be productive, not only in our work, but generally in life as well. The most important asset in life is that you'll ever invest in is not of your wealth, but rather of your health. For one cannot work to their full potential if their health is not optimal. Okay, let's take a look at what nutrition is now. So nutrition is the study of how food and drink impacts the health of our bodies. Nutrition is a crucial part of our health and development, and this is especially important starting from the embryo point through to childhood, where our bodies begin to form and develop, and healthy growth is then developed into adulthood. Essential nutrients are necessary to support human health, and we get this daily from the food we consume. Nutrients provide our bodies with nourishment, and each nutrient has a role in maintaining the health and development of our bodies, and this is required daily. So there are two key types of nutrients: macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, macro meaning large, they are the nutrients that our body needs in larger amounts. These include carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These provide our bodies with the main sources of energy, or calories, and we'll cover this in more detail in the next few slides. Micronutrients, micro meaning small, these are the nutrients that our body needs in smaller amounts, which commonly referred to as vitamins and minerals. So we need micronutrients to maintain the health of our body and to help us digest those micronutrients. What we feed our body is assimilated into the body. The digestion process then begins as soon as food enters the mouth by an enzyme in our saliva, which initially breaks down the food, ready for it to be digested by the rest of the body. This digestion process then continues, and ultimately the food we consume sends signals to our cells to grow or to repair. This includes both healthy growth and unhealthy growth. So the food we eat is a huge part of how we feel, energy-wise and physically too. So we can determine our risk of diseases by the food choices that we make, and therefore, yes, indeed, we are essentially what we continually eat. And I'd like to extend this further to what we eat becomes how we feel. So if we eat a load of junk food, we're going to feel pretty sluggish. Okay, so the World Health Organization states that better nutrition is related to improved infant, child and maternal health, stronger immune systems, safer pregnancy and childbirth, lower risk of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and longevity. It's important to have balanced meals, which include all the nutrients that we have covered. So let's briefly explore these. Carbohydrates. These provide the bodies with the main source of energy. These foods include things like bread, pasta, rice, grains, and potatoes. Carbohydrates account for 4 calories per gram in our diet. And just as a side note, potatoes, yam, plantain, and sweet potatoes are often confused to be a vegetable. They are root vegetables in the way that they're grown. However, they would come under the carbohydrate group, and this is due to their high content of starch. So no, chips is not one of your 5 a day. Proteins. So proteins are important for healthy growth and repair of our body, muscle cells, and tissues. Examples of proteins include poultry, such as chicken and turkey, meats, fish, eggs, beans, and pulses. Therefore, proteins are an essential part of building muscle and in muscle recovery. It helps us reduce our cravings by increasing feelings of satiety. So as well as being an essential part of your meal, they're also a great option to include for snacks. Proteins, like carbohydrates, also account for 4 calories per gram in our diet. The reference nutrient intake for average adults is set at 0.75 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So, for example, an adult weighing 60 kilograms needs approximately 60 times 0.75 grams per day. So this is 45. This means that they would need to consume 45 grams of protein in their day as a reference nutrient intake. Now, fats. When it comes to fats, health and weight loss, fat seems to have gotten itself a rather bad reputation, and generally, fats are misunderstood. In fact, fats contain essential fatty acids that are important for the health of our bodies, specifically cells, hormones, our eyes and brain, skin, and our eyes, brain and skin health. So it's important that we include a healthy amount of good fats in our diet. A common question that we get is, does consuming fats make us put on weight? The answer to that is no. Fats do not cause weight gain on their own. If we consume more energy than we utilize, that is when weight gain occurs, regardless of where that energy is coming from, whether that be from protein, carbohydrates, or fats. It's also important to note, though, that fats do contain double the amount of calories per gram when compared to carbohydrates and protein. They contain 9 calories per gram. So it's important to be careful with our portion sizes and also to ensure that we're consuming the correct fats that our body requires. Although they are all the same amount of calories, not all fats are equal. Good fats are indeed needed in our diet. They help the body absorb fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. Fats support functioning of hormones and cell growth. They also provide an insulating layer, which helps maintain a constant body temperature and provide protection for our vital organs. There are 2 main types of fats, saturated fats and unsaturated fats. The term saturated fats is often used to describe fats that are generally harmful to our health if too much is consumed. Unhealthy fats are generally found in animal products such as butter, lard, ghee, fatty meat, and cheese. Most saturated fats are solid at room temperature, for example, butter and margarine. There's also trans fats. These naturally occur in some foods, but also are formed when vegetable oils are hydrogenated. This production process increases the shelf life of products. So, for example, cakes can last for weeks instead of days by including trans fat into the product. A diet which is rich in saturated fat or trans fat is considered to be bad for our health, and this is because it is associated with raising the levels of LDLs, cholesterol. This is low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. This is the bad cholesterol which transports fats from the liver to the arteries, which then leads them to become narrow and restrict the blood flow. These unhealthy fats are linked to increasing our risk of heart and circulatory diseases. HDLs, high density lipoprotein cholesterol. This is the good cholesterol that takes the bad fats, which are deposited within the lining of the arteries, and they transport them to the liver where they should be. So you can see how important good fats are for our cardiac health. Unsaturated fats describe the healthy fats which often come from plant products. They are often liquid at room temperature, so for example, vegetable oils. And these include monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. Examples of these are found in oils such as olive oil, peanut oil and canola oil, avocados, nuts and seeds. Polyunsaturated fatty acids include 2 essential fatty acids called omega-3 and omega-6. These can be found in oily fish, sunflower, corn, soybean, flaxseed oils, walnut oils, and flax seeds. These fats help maintain a good level of HDLs in the blood and are important for the health of our heart. Water now. Water is the most abundant constituent of the human body. It makes up approximately 60% of our body, 80 to 90% in our blood, and approximately 75% in our muscles. So regular fluid intake is essential for optimal functions of our bodies. A healthy water consumption is important for nutrient absorption, digestion, skin health, weight control, regulating blood pressure and body temperature, and is needed to moisten oxygen for respiration, which is breathing. Also, water supports our joint health, brain, and kidney function, and helps convert food into energy. The UK government recommends 6 to 8 cups of water per day. This roughly works out to be about 1.5 litres. Those who are participating in strenuous physical activities or are living in hotter or humid climates may require more than this recommendation. So, micronutrients now. These include vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals which are important to help boost the immune system. These include regulating the immune response of the body, supporting normal, healthy growth and development, and help cells and organs work to their optimal. We can find vitamins and minerals predominantly in the fruit and vegetables that we consume, and these provide the body with the essential vitamins and minerals, some of which are powerful antioxidants, protecting us against diseases and strengthening our immunity. These are necessary for hormone functions and responses in the body. Examples of these include cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, red or white cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and bok choy. Leafy greens like kale and spinach, cucumbers, tomatoes, celery, berries such as strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, etc. Citrus fruits, rosacea fruits like peaches and apricots, mangoes, papayas, and bananas. However, vitamins and minerals can also be found in dairy products, plant-based alternatives, and fortified food products such as fortified bread and breakfast cereals. So not sure if you've noticed, but I specifically made sure the slides of fruit and vegetables are as colourful as can be. And this is not just for presentation purposes, but it's also to stress that colour is an important factor in ensuring that we are consuming a range of different fruits and vegetables and therefore including a variety of different vitamins and minerals in our diet. So for example, orange is usually the colour given for retinol-rich foods such as carrots and sweet potatoes. This is important for allowing the body to make vitamin A. Purple, red-coloured fruit and veg is often associated with rich levels of polyphenols, and these are powerful antioxidants which are known to protect the body from oxidative stress and are associated with helping prevent cancers, coronary heart disease, and inflammation. So examples of these might be grapes, berries, plums, pomegranates, red cabbage, and spices. Okay, so some practical advice from the World Health Organization. So the advice is to increase the consumption of fruit and vegetables, legumes, nuts, and whole grains. So as we've already covered, this is important for our overall health of our bodies and particularly the health of our digestive system. When we're picking things like unrefined wholemeal bread, rice or pasta, so this is going to help increase our fibre content. At least 400 grams, which is 5 portions of fruit and veg per day. So if we are having 5 fruit and veg a day, let's try and include 3 veg and 2 fruit. The reason being is fruit can be higher in sugar and therefore can still contribute to the blood sugar levels increasing. So obviously vegetables are lower in sugar. Also, this is important again to ensure that we have a wide range of vitamins and minerals in our diet. Less than 10% of total energy intake from free sugars. So free sugars are sugars in cake, biscuits, or the ones that we add to our teas and coffee. So the recommendation is to have less than 12 level teaspoons a day. And these can be found, this is to help reduce our risk of type 2 diabetes. So if we're wanting sugar, it's best to choose those from fruits instead of like the free sugars. Less than 30% of energy intake from fats. So as we've already discussed, let's pick the unsaturated fat as a preference opposed to the saturated fat. They're saying that the saturated fats to be reduced to less than 10% as well. And finally, less than 5 grams of salt. So it is hard to quantify. If you think about just 1 teaspoon of salt a day, foods high in salt are going to be processed meals or ready-made meals or processed meats. Then so adding more salt to that will continue to increase the amount that we're taking in. So it's important, salt is important because, reducing salt is important because it helps reduce our blood pressure. And over time, elevated blood pressure can lead to heart diseases. So it's important to control that. Okay, so let's have a look at ways in which we can practically make positive nutritional changes. It's important not to cut any food group out, especially with children, as this can lead to our bodies not receiving the correct nutrition and can lead to deficiencies. So we should ensure that we control our portion sizes and have healthy, balanced meals, which are based around the following portion control plates. So half the plate of vegetables, quarter plate of protein, and quarter plate of carbs. So another way to help you practically think about this or remember this is a palm of protein, 2 hands of veg, and a fist of carbs. So that will help us practically remember the portion size. If we stick to these healthy option sizes for every meal, so that includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then we can ensure that we are receiving all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that our bodies require for optimal health. So these are examples of what to include in healthy portion control plates. So again, consuming a plate that is full of colourful fruits and veg. So that's like, think about eating a rainbow for ensuring that we're getting a range of vitamins and minerals, as well as the quantity and portion size. It is also important to ensure that we have good quality foods from these food groups. So for example, for carbohydrates, we're making sure that we're picking wholemeal, non-refined carbohydrates, and this is to help increase the fiber intake, more important for healthy digestion. For example, for protein, it's important to choose leaner meats. So the lean part of the chicken, don't include the skin because it's going to be high in saturated fat. And the way you cook it as well is important. So grilling, boiling, or roasting instead of frying. And then for vegetables, again, steaming them is going to be better than frying them. Keeping the skin on these will actually help with the fiber intake, and again, better for good digestion. For fats, ensuring that we choose unsaturated healthy fats as opposed to saturated fats. This is a good slide to take a screenshot of, and it can help you make informed food choices when shopping or choosing a healthy options for your meals. Food labels have a traffic light system which can help alert us to what are good, healthy choices shown in green, moderately healthy choices shown in amber, and then not so healthy choices shown in red. Treats are good to enjoy, however, the quantity and the frequency of consumption of these are important. So if we overindulge in treats and then we are not giving our body the correct nutrition which they require for a healthy function, continuing to do this over time can negatively impact our health. So balance is important. Everything in moderation and nothing in abundance. A good rule of thumb to think about is 90-10. So 90-10 rule says 90% clean and 10% enjoy. So don't cut your favorite foods out. The key to enjoying your favorite foods is to find healthier alternatives or only eat them a few times a week. So fit them within your allowance of your calorie intake. So now we're going to look at physical activity and exercise. So what is physical activity? Physical activity is any body movement requiring energy. So this is not just restricting to only the gym or intentionally working out. It is any activity that gets you moving. These include walking to the shops, cleaning your room, gardening, or taking the lift instead of the stairs. The stairs instead of the lift. So we can also relate this to NEAT. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is the energy expended for everything we do that is not sleeping, eating, or sports-like exercise. So all the activities that we spoke about, walking, etc. What is exercise? So exercise is activity that requires a physical effort to maintain or improve health and fitness. And these include aerobic and anaerobic activities. So aerobic activities is working the cardiac muscle, the heart muscle, and these are exercises such as running, cycling, swimming laps, or brisk walking. Aerobic activities is working specific muscle groups. These are often shorter in duration and higher in intensity workouts. So for example, explosive exercises such as jumping, sprinting, or heavy weightlifting. Okay, so let's look at some recommendations. So the recommendations in the UK for exercise is at least 150 minutes of moderate intense activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity, or a mixture of both, and this is per week. This is important for our cardiac health, so more is always going to be more beneficial to our health. Strength training is recommended at least twice a week. So strength training includes also resistance training. So this is working your muscles against a force. So this could be a physical force, such as a weight like dumbbells or kettlebells, or it could be your own body weight. So for example, push-ups, sit-ups, or like in the picture where the man's attempting to do a plank with his dog on his back, so with weights and his body weight. So it's important for muscle and bone strength and health. So when we train, our muscle fibers slightly tear and our bones are put under temporary stress. Now, these outcomes may sound negative. However, these outcomes allow us to rebuild stronger muscles and bones, of course, when fueled with the correct nutrition. Thus, this helps reduce the risk of osteoporosis as we age. So osteoporosis is brittle bones, and sarcopenia, which is muscle wastage. So this happens when we're not using our muscle. As we age, strength training becomes more important. So at the age of around 30 years old, we tend to reach our peak muscle mass. And then after this, it starts to decline unless it's signaled to do otherwise. So if we don't use our muscles, we lose them. Use it or lose it. So the final advice is reducing extended periods of sitting, so reducing sedentary behaviours. One way we can achieve this is to try and meet our 10,000 step count per day. So if you work from a desk most of the time, try and get up at least 20 to 30 minutes and like walk around, or try and go for a walk at lunchtime. In a day, aim to walk for about 60 minutes each day, and this doesn't have to be all in one go. It could be 2 bouts of 30 minutes walks in a day, so 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, or it could be four 15 minutes walks in the day. So, you know, you can divide that between 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. So walking and hitting 10,000 steps count is actually really underrated for fat loss and health in general. One 60-minute walk can help us burn approximately 300 calories in a day. And sometimes this is all you need to be in a calorie deficit and to begin a weight loss if that's your goal. Okay, so why should we exercise? Why can't we just be sedentary, hey? And many people don't realize that physical activity has significant benefits for our health, both physical and mental. And this can help prevent and manage over 20 chronic conditions and diseases, including some cancers, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and depression. So let's look at some of the statistics. So research from the World Health Organization has found that physical activity has significant health benefits for our hearts, bodies and minds, which we've already identified. People who are insufficiently active have a 20 to 30% increased risk of death compared to people who are sufficiently active. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big percentage if you ask me, about something that we can definitely avoid. So promotion of physical activity in the workplace and in life is so important. Physical inactivity has been identified by the World Health Organization as the 4th leading risk factor for global mortality, causing an estimated 3.2 million deaths globally. In the UK, it's associated with 1 in 6 deaths, and it's estimated to cost the UK 7.4 billion every year. So unfortunately, our population is around 20% less active than we were in the 1960s. So we've already mentioned that to start with. And if these current trends continue, it will be 35%. We will be 35% less active by 2030. So regular exercise reduces our risk of dementia by 30%, cardiovascular disease by 35%, type 2 diabetes by 40%, depression by 30%, breast cancer by 20%, colon cancer by 30%, hip fractures by 68%, that's a big one, and all-cause mortality by 30%, which we've already looked at. So as we can see, physical activity helps prevent these chronic diseases. So it isn't that, we can prevent this if we just participate in more physical activity. So let's look at some physical benefits, other physical benefits. So it helps improve our bone and muscle strength, helps boost our energy levels, which will in turn increase our productivity as well, helps better manage our weight control, helps improve our quality of sleep, posture, relief from physical pain, and increase life expectancy. So there are also mental health benefits to participating in physical activity. During exercise, our bodies release these so-called happy hormones known as endorphins, and these help us to better manage and reduce our stress, anxiety, depression, and low mood. Exercise has been shown to treat mild depression as effectively as antidepressant medication without all the horrible side effects. It also boosts our self-esteem and self-confidence, helps us improve our brain function by enhancing memory and alertness, which also helps with productivity. And exercise can be fun and social. So if you join an exercise class, you're more likely to meet new people and make new friends, which will help with encouraging each other to attend those classes as you begin to have someone that you can be accountable to. And in turn, this will help develop strong social well-being. So the list is endless and goes on. Okay, so these are the benefits. So how do I begin, I hear you ask? Okay, so to live a healthier lifestyle, we need to change our behavior. So the things that we do that cause us to eat an unhealthy diet and be inactive. But before we do all this, we need to think about what things trigger our behaviors, because all our actions and behaviors are influenced by something, right? These triggers can be internal, or which is the things that we think or feel, and external, the things that are in our environment that might trigger us to have a behavior. So behavior psychologists use this ABC model to help us understand behavior. A for antecedents, or the trigger that causes the behavior. B for behavior, so for example, eating. And C, the consequence of doing the behavior. So for example, gaining weight or not meeting your step count target. So for the triggers, we have external triggers. So these include the environment or our surroundings. So seeing someone eating food, seeing or smelling the food, not having healthy food at home, to be tempted by special offers when you're shopping, And then also internal. So internal includes our thoughts and feelings, which can include our emotions, and our hunger versus craving, which is the relationship with food as well. So our thoughts and feelings, we each have a very individual relationship with food. So for example, some of us eat more when we're upset or sad. However, some of us can be the complete opposite and not eat at all when we're upset. So we need to understand our relationship with food in order to manage our triggers and make necessary positive changes in our life. Another internal factor to consider is hunger versus cravings. So hunger is a physiological need, so our body's way of telling us that we need fuel. And craving is an intense psychological desire to eat a particular food, even if we're not hungry. So this often lasts for about 20 minutes. The idea is, if you have a craving, is to keep yourself distracted within the 20 minutes. So drink some water, because sometimes it can be confused by dehydration, or go for a walk, do some exercise, get up and literally physically walk away, things like that to sort of get yourself distracted while the craving is there. Okay, so when thinking about practical ways to deal with your trigger, it can be useful to remember the 4 R's of managing triggers. So this is routine, replace, reduce, and remove. So routine the trigger, replace the trigger, reduce the trigger, or remove the trigger. Now, when we routine the trigger, we ensure that we plan healthy habits in our routine. That way we're more likely to achieve them. So remember that failing to plan is planning to fail. We need to set SMART goals, and SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame. So it's important that these goals that we set for ourselves are SMART. There's no point in setting a goal to achieve completing a marathon, for example, in a week if you've never completed even a 5K run. So yes, our goals should challenge us, but they shouldn't disable us either. And the next R is replace. So replace the unhealthy habit with a healthier habit. So for example, replace snacking on crisps with snacking on crunchy vegetable sticks. Or if you're trying to give up smoking, replace going out for a cigarette with going out for a 10-minute walk, you know. Research has actually shown that if we replace an unhealthy habit with a healthy habit, we are more likely to achieve that change or commit to it, opposed to removing the habit entirely. The third R is reduce. So reduce, so healthy living is not meant to be boring or depriving. Treats are allowed to be enjoyed in moderation, but if you're feasting on them, if you're feasting on a treat, it's maybe time to reduce that amount, okay? So for example, if I'm consuming 2 chocolate bars every meal every day, that's 3 times 2 chocolate bars, right? It's not about completely cutting that out of my life and making my life miserable, but rather if I instead reduce my quantity, so for example, perhaps consuming 1 chocolate bar a day, and I'm finding a healthier alternative to my excessive consumption of chocolate. So it's important not to think about it as a diet, but rather as a lifestyle. And the final R is remove. So remove the obstacle of what you cannot control. So this requires you to be a bit more honest with yourself and think about your triggers, okay? So for example, if I'm walking past a bakery every morning and that's causing me to make unhealthy breakfast choices because of the smell, for example, the external trigger, and I know that it's too hard for me to resist, then perhaps I need to consider changing my route. Or perhaps I need to cross the road earlier so that I don't pass the bakery in this instant. So that way I'm essentially removing my trigger. Okay, so if you are thinking that it's impossible to make a change, hopefully now I've convinced you otherwise. Again, remember, both the combination of a healthy, balanced diet and increased physical activity, whatever that may look like to you, will positively impact your overall health and well-being. And the best thing about it is that you'll not only see the outcome, but you will feel it and it will be contagious to those around you. So then hopefully you can go on and inspire others in your life to also make positive, healthy changes in their life as well. So I invite you all to make a change today. It doesn't have to be a massive change. It doesn't have to be life destructive or completely disturb your flow. Just one small change each day or week to improve and take control of your health. Thank you very much for those of you who have made it to the end with me, and I do appreciate that it's a lot of information to take in, so hopefully it has been beneficial and resourceful for you. So as promised, I brought this question back to your view. Hopefully your stance has positively changed, even ever so slightly. So how confident do you feel about making health changes to your diet and activity now? Are you very confident? You confident? You somewhat confident or not confident at all? Hopefully everyone's a bit more confident than they were previously. Okay, and now I'm ready for some questions.
Well, thank you very much, Marina. Obviously a huge amount of information to cover, but it was most interesting, and I'm sure people have found it very helpful. Thank you very much. Yes, we've got a number of questions. Firstly, this is a practical one, actually. Somebody's asked, can they book a nutritionist through Express Medicals? Well, the answer is yes. I mean, obviously, if somebody requires the help of a nutritionist, we can help them find somebody, I'm guessing. And you would obviously have a network of nutritionists, I assume. Is that correct? Or?
Oh, yes, yeah, for sure. Yeah. We can reply to that in the box, I guess.
Good. Okay, moving on then. The next question is, are fluids other than water just as useful in the diet as water itself?
Okay, very good question. So yes, they are. However, obviously water is going to be better for your health. It's a bit more economic as well. If you're having fruit juices or teas and coffees, they're going to be higher in sugar if you're adding sugar to your tea and coffee or your fruit juices. So yes, they do count, but also it's important to try and encourage yourself to drink more water, just water on its own. If you're finding that difficult, a good way to do that is to add lime or orange slice to your water, just to give it a bit of flavour. So that would be a bit more of a healthy option.
Good. Okay. Next question then. How can I make healthier choices when I'm eating out in restaurants?
It is possible, so it can be a challenge, but with a bit of thought and planning, it's not impossible. Nowadays, restaurants have calories on the menu, so this can actually be a good head start for you to make informed choices to which meal you might want to choose. So restaurants and takeaway meals can easily contain double the amount or even triple sometimes the amount of calories of our regular meal if we eat them, if we cook them ourselves. So it's important to have the option of having the calories there. But if not, never be afraid to ask. So whether it be that you want to start a sized meal, main meal, or if you want less cheese in your pizza or switching the fries to roasted veg, like ask your waiter. They're used to people asking questions, and speaking up can actually help you make the best choices for your goals. Also asking for sauces to be on the side, that's going to help you be in better control of how much fat or sugar perhaps that you have in your meal. Another idea is sharing the dish with whoever you're going out to eat with. So this ensures that you're having a smaller portion anyway. And I'm all for not wasting food. However, don't feel like you need to completely finish your plate. There's nothing worse than, consuming all your plate and then feeling sluggish and uncomfortably overfull. Don't be afraid to ask for a takeaway box or bag, and then you can take it for another meal perhaps, and that way you're not over consuming foods. A good tip to think is usually eat until you're 80% full instead of your 100% full. It's usually better for your energy levels as well. And finally, you can also think about healthy swaps. So for example, if there's the way they've cooked the chicken is fried. Don't be afraid to ask to swap that for it to be grilled or roasted instead. So it's going to be a healthier, better option for you.
Good, thank you. Somebody's asked here, can you give some tips about healthy snacks that are easy to eat when you're on the go?
Sure can. So when you're on the go, you can carry carrot, cucumber or celery sticks in your bag with you, and with some hummus dips can be the perfect way to curb your cravings. Some other healthy snacks could include rice cakes, mixed nuts or seeds, sugar snap peas are usually a good one as well. Or like carrying a fruit with you, like a banana or an apple. Sometimes people like to have chopped apples with peanut butter. It's a nice sort of like combination. Cottage cheese or tomatoes or cucumber is a good option as well. Having dried fruit in a bag with dried apricots and banana, for example, those dried fruits sort of can help you carry them better. Also, air popped popcorn is really good because you're not adding sugar or salt to it. Or what you can sprinkle in instead, if you like, is cinnamon. So for a sweet little taste on there as well. One of my favourite packing is for protein snacks, and these include edamame beans, which are really good and high in protein, so that's a vegan option. Otherwise, boiled eggs are a great option for increasing your protein intake. Lindells Kvark yogurt, so it's actually a Swedish company, but it's actually quark. So it presents itself like yogurt, but it's actually quark, and this is why it has high protein in it. I think each pot is about 15 grams of protein per pot. It's also low in sugar, fat and calories. I think they're about 83 calories, ranges between each pot, and there's different flavours as well, so you get an option of that. There's also fridge raiders. So the slow roasted chicken bites, they're perfect for upping your protein intake, which can help increase the feeling of satiety.
Thank you very much. Somebody's asked here, can you recommend any good apps that can help with dietary planning and improving eating habits?
Yeah, sure can. So a good app to use, it depends if you've got a smartwatch. So if you've got a smartwatch, there's Fitbit apps which also have nutrition sides of them where you can track your calories. Actually, research suggests that if you keep a food diary for at least 2 weeks, you are able to then identify what foods you're actually consuming, because we tend to underestimate what we actually consume. Like we tend to snack a lot in the day and then think, oh, I haven't even ate that much. But actually, when you actually write it down, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of calories that I've had today. So keeping a food diary, and you can do that by using MyFitnessPal or the Fitbit app. Even if you don't have a Fitbit, I think you can still use that app for tracking your food intake. So those ones for that.
Okay, thank you. I'll just switch to a couple of questions on exercise because we're coming to near the end now. Somebody's asked actually a similar question. Can you recommend apps and any other useful resources in terms of improving my approach to exercise?
Yeah, so similarly, you can use MyFitnessPal or the Fitbit app. If you've got a smartwatch like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit watch, or I think there's Garmin as well and Samsung, there's like loads of different smartwatches that you can have now. Usually attached to those is an application that you can help track your activity levels. If you're talking about apps for exercise, there is a good app actually that I downloaded recently. I need to find out what it's called. I forgot. Sorry, bear with me a second. Oh, it's called Gym Streak, and they have some exercises from there, which is really, really good. There's also YouTube. It's not an app, but well, it can be an app. But if you go on YouTube and you type in different exercises for like HIIT exercises or home workouts, there's plenty on there. So the resources are endless. I hope those have been useful.
Thank you. Is it true that morning exercise is more beneficial than exercise at any other time of the day?
So yes and no. Generally speaking, exercise is going to be beneficial for your health no matter when you're doing it. However, when you if you exercise in the morning, you're going to reap the benefits straight away, okay? Because you've just exercised, so you're going to feel alert, you're going to be productive, you're going to reap those rewards straight away. It's not to say though that if you do exercise in the evening, then you're not going to reap the rewards straight away. It's just the fact that it's time to sleep. Like you're not gonna feel that straight away, but it's still beneficial. It's important though that you must include exercise in your lifestyle. So you have to think about your timetable and what works for you. There's no point me saying, right, you've got to exercise in the morning and then your shift starts at 5 a.m. So if it doesn't work for you, then you've got to work exercise in your sort of timetable, and that's absolutely fine. So yes, there's the instant benefit of reaping the rewards of exercise straight away in the morning, but it's not to say that if you do it late in the day that you won't reap those rewards as well.
Okay, we're going to do one last question, which will resonate with lots of us, I'm sure. Somebody writes, I find exercise so boring. Can you give me any tips to overcome that such boredom?
It's actually a common one. So I think you have to think about what you find fun. So don't think about, most people think about exercise just in the gym, and I know that can seem quite boring to a majority of the population, but you got to think about what you enjoy doing. Even think back to when you used to play sports in school. I don't know how old this person that's asked the question is, but think about what sports you enjoyed. If it's football, try and find a football team within your council, or maybe make a football team with the people that you work with. If it's tennis, again, try and get friends together, buy a racket, buy some balls, get playing some tennis. You've got to make the activity fun for you. Research suggests if you find an activity fun, you're more likely to commit to it and stick to it, and you're more likely to want to continue doing it. So yeah, you've just got to find what's fun for you and what's convenient for your timetable. So it's not about just the gym, even as the simplest thing as walking. So think about ways you can increase your activity levels, or where can I walk instead of catching the train, or where can I walk instead of driving? I know I can think in my head there's so many people that would drive to the shop, which is only literally 5-minute walk away from their house. So think about ways you can increase your activity levels in that way. Yeah, hope that's helped.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Marina. I mean, there's obviously so much here, and I'm sure that there are a few tips that many of us can take away from this, and it'll set us thinking about how we can perhaps move a little more and eat a bit more healthily. I certainly need to do that myself as well. So we'll just close now and say thank you to everybody for joining us. We have some questions that we haven't got round to, and I'm sure that Marina will be happy to answer those on email. And as I mentioned earlier, you will be able to access this on our YouTube channel. So I bid you farewell. Thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you a very good day. Bye now.